So hey guys, welcome to your favorite channel Subhra the Geek. I am your host, I am your host Subhra. So guys, today we have started with our series which we talked about in the last video in our last week. And today we'll be talking about what are the things which path we will be following, and my friend Debayan who will be joining with us will be sharing his industry experiences with us and each and everything. So guys, if you are new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the bell notification icon beside it so that you get notified each and every time I post a new video. And you stay tuned for the updates of this series which we are planning on this channel with my great friend Devan. Guys, if you don't know me, let me introduce myself again. I am a scholar at Amity University, Kolkata, where I am learning computer applications. I have passed my graduation from there only, and that's where I made the band. So, guys, I am learning data science and machine learning and trying my hands on with IBM Qiskit into the quantum world. So, we have planned some series, some learning, as I told you in my previous video, with my friend Debayan. So, next we'll be hearing from Debayan. So, Debayan, you are up.
Hi, this is Debayan. I've been working as a core data scientist at a UK medtech startup for about 2 years now. So I've been instrumental in developing and architecting data science solutions at scale and deploying machine learning models at scale. And I will be sharing my experiences with you guys and help you sort of streamline your journey into the data science and machine learning world.
So, guys, if you have any query regarding the journey and if you face any problem at any point of the journey, feel free to connect with us on our Discord server. The exclusive Discord server which we have made for you guys will be linked down below, where I and Debayan will always be there and will be trying to solve your problem in the least amount of time. So, guys, again, please share it with all your friends who want to learn this. And this is the job which, according to Harvard Business School, is the sexiest job of the 21st century. So, I am your host, Subhra, and
This is Debayan.
so without further ado, let's start, shall we? So, Devan, today I have a few questions with me.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you are okay with it, then may I ask?
Yeah, sure. Fire on.
So the first one which I wanted to ask is, what does a data science job entail? Because we know and we all know that data science is a hype right now, and according to Harvard Business School is the sexiest job of the 21st century. So what does it actually entail? What does this job entail?
So, so there are various classes and hierarchies of a data science job. So if you're looking at the categories or types of jobs, so you have in essence three or four types. Let me write them down on the screen for you guys. So then there in the start you have something called a data analyst, right? So your business analyst sort of goes as a sub part of this.
Okay.
Then there's your data engineer. So this individual will be responsible for building and architecting all the essential softwares that will help the other departments in the company do their job properly. So this is where the systems get built. This guy builds systems for it. You have then the most common profession, which is the data scientist. So this person is responsible for defining uh, the metrics, defining what the project is, defining the directions, defining um, the kind of the process in essence, and how will the data get processed, how will you will extract insights from it, and how will be it will be presented inform in the customer's side of things. Now there are various definitions to this. People might object, sort of tell something different to what I'm trying to say here. It's about to understand that there are it's an amalgamation of definition. There's no one such fixed concrete definition of what a data scientist does, and that's why I believe there's so much confusion in what the role entails, right? So a data scientist can at times do the job of a data analyst. It can also do the job of at times of a data engineer, because like this scientist, this individual will have to work with the other departments as well, with the other other members of their team as well. And it also works with the other job of the data science team, which is the machine learning engineer, right? So the data scientist needs to be familiar with all the technologies, at least have some contact with all the technologies that data analyst, data engineer, as well as the machine learning engineer use on their day-to-day cycle. So you can expect that the data scientist is almost like a jack of all trades. And you might say, okay, so is he not the master of all of them? It depends. Like if you are a research oriented guy, if you have a PhD, so you will be into the research data scientist kind of roles. If you are if you get promoted with experience as a data scientist, from a data analyst, and then maybe to a data engineer, maybe to a data scientist. Like you can have this kind of lateral progressions in the same company or in different companies as per your roles, as per your previous roles. So you can expect a data scientist to be a mishmash of roles collected, virtue of your experiences. So these are the roles and that you have in terms of a
So
data
Debayan,
scientist.
as we have heard that data science is a profession that anyone can start, and we are planning on the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the data analyst is what a beginner may start or may think that that's the starting position for any data scientist is, if I'm not wrong.
uh, you'd be partially right about that thing. So you could start with this one, right? You could also start with this one. And if you are skilled enough, if you already have experience working in the industry and you want to shift domains, you might have a chance at working as a data engineer, you know as well. The data scientist is typically the most senior kind of role, where you have spent at least 2 or 3 years into one of these previous roles. So that's higher up in terms of hierarchy, right? But for a beginner, for an absolute beginner, which I believe most of our audience over here are, so you'd expect a role either as a data analyst or as a machine learning engineer or as a data engineer, if you are experienced enough, if you know enough to qualify for those roles. So yeah.
Okay, so my next question would be, what are the type of skill sets that companies are looking for? So there are thousands and thousands of videos on YouTube, and still we are making a new one. So we should directly pinpoint on those things, if I'm not wrong, Devan.
uh, so so the kind of role that we will be taking on defines the kind of skill sets that you should be targeting to learn, right? So let's go through a scenario over here. Let's say you're trying to learn to become a data analyst. You're trying to intern as a data analyst somewhere, or you're trying to opt for a job as a data analyst somewhere. So what kind of skill set do you expect to learn from a data analyst? So as a data analyst, one of the top skills that you are expected to know is SQL. There is no no counter arguments to this one. You have to know SQL is a language of the databases, and in order to really extract information, extract insight across thousands of tables and petabytes of info and data stored across servers, you gotta know SQL in some way or other. You gotta be proficient in doing joins, doing complex uh, queries, using joins, and in essentially transforming a statement, a query, like a normal colloquial query, into a SQL like syntax. So you should be very very familiar, very comfortable with SQL. The other skills would be a programming language, specifically some kind of language that would allow you to do some kind of data analysis, statistical kind of job. So that would either be Python or R.
So we have some videos on Python, basic Python in our channel. So you can watch this. I'll be linking those in the I button above. So without further ado, start with Python from those videos. Then, Devan, if you continue.
Okay, so the choice of language depends it depends on the background that you're coming in, right? So let's say you're coming from a tech background. You have taken some courses in computer science. Maybe you have a degree in computer science in some form or another. You like you know a couple of programming languages like C++, Java, if I'm catering to the Indian audience over here. So for you guys, Python might be the best bet and might be the safest bet, if I'm not wrong, because most of the integrations that are available in in various cloud services and things like that, it's easier to work in Python and easier to document and test in Python. And in taking into consideration the amount of open source contributions and libraries that are available for Python, it's so large that you might choose Python after all. You might have some libraries that do exactly the kind of thing that you would want to do in any kind of complex scenario, like daytime passing or doing any kind of machine learning kind of task, like scikit-learn, NumPy, SkyPy. These are the kind of libraries you have in Python that
So
automates.
Devan, could you list those libraries like NumPy, Pandas, SciPy, Scikit,
Hmm.
Matplotlib? If you could list it on your document.
Yeah, sure. So for Python, right, these are the kind of libraries you should really focus on, getting familiar with.
Yeah,
So you have NumPy. This
yeah.
is basically the numerical Python. That's a short form, every way to name for it, and it consists of all kind of functions that help you, uh,
Perform all the numerical
performing,
operations inside Python.
yes, like vectorized operations,
Yeah.
vectors, matrices, and those kind of stuff. Then you have SciPy. This is what you would call the scientific Python as an abbreviation. This library consists of all scientific kind of computations for signal processing and
Data manipulation,
data manipulation, basically for
frequency,
mathematical
each and
functions.
everything SciPy is there.
Yes, that you can use to work on your data. So any kind of research oriented stuff, you can definitely find some kind of implementation, some algorithms, optimization kind of algorithms over in SciPy. Then you have pandas. The pandas is one of the most popular data frame data set manipulating libraries. So
Inside
when you will
Python, yeah.
work in machine learning algorithms, when you're working with any kind of data sets of any kind, you will be definitely working in pandas or in some form of another. And it really helps that you get accustomed to subsetting, slicing, dicing data frames, large data frames. Yes, like you used to indexing data frames and stuff like that. So pandas is definitely something that you should put priority on learning. And then of course you have the
Scikit-learn.
famous scikit-learn or sklearn library, which houses all the machine learning algorithms that you will be learning later down in this series, and you might have heard of. So all the implementations are available in scikit-learn. uh, um,
Matplotlib.
in terms of plotting, in terms of visualization of your algorithms, visualization of results, graphs, plots, you have matplotlib. Now matplotlib has a history. So matplotlib is directly taken as a sort of like a port implementation or a copy like implementation from MATLAB, uh, which is also another fantastic platform that you might want to check out. But it depends on university, on like industry acceptance. Universities sort of accepted MATLAB as a standard de facto libraries for scientific computing, but in industry depends on how much you can scale. And Python and R are really the languages of the internet, of the industry. So for them, in order to keep with the familiar syntaxes, familiar environment of MATLAB, they ported the plotting system, the plotting subsystem of MATLAB into
Python.
Python,
Yeah.
which is called matplotlib.
And then a few libraries of R like deployer, ggplot2, then tidyverse.
Yeah, so before we even talk about that, let's talk about the kind of people who would be interested in using R.
Yeah.
Now R is not something you would want to leave out,
Devan,
because
I think what you can do is make some pointers like Python are for everyone. So you can give an arrow and write for everyone, and then for R it's like more of statistics. So you can write this like a small note.
yeah, so it's like this. R is a hardcore statistical language. R is meant as and built for statisticians, right? It's a statistical language, and if you're thinking of any kind of statistical kind of work, any kind of linear modeling, tree-based modeling, and those kind of things, where the developing models is your is your forte, is where you're interested in, then R is definitely the platform you want to be in. If you're more interested in a more general kind of programming interfaces where you want to do different kind of jobs, they're like from web-based scraping to machine learning to parallel computing and then to normal system level stuff, then Python's your jam. And it depends down on what exactly is your background, what exactly will you be using for, because every language has its own strengths, pros and cons, and you need to choose the right language for your job. So to start off with, just to simplify it down for you, I would recommend Python. Yeah,
Okay.
that's my advice for you
Okay.
guys.
Thank you, Devan. Then the another question which popped in my mind is how should a beginner organize his or her journey to land the first dream job in data science?
So there are a couple of aspects to this. So in order to learn, let's say, the data analyst kind of role, right? You need to understand a couple of things about business. So business knowledge is an essential part of your arsenal. So choosing the right kind of industry that you want to work in is the first step of the job. So if you want to work in retail, if you want to work in e-commerce, you got to understand, market. You got to understand consumer behavior. You got to understand how market works, how the economy works, right? You got to understand how people buy things online, how people how selling things work, how selling products work. That's the kind of domain of knowledge you need to have. Otherwise, you can't really apply your data science skills, all the skills that you learn in SQL, Python, R. You need to have a context where you can apply them. Unless you can understand what kind of context you're applying, you cannot make sense of the kind of analysis that you can probably do or you should do to get the relevant insights. um, Let me give you an example of this. Let me give you an example. So let's say you're trying to find out what kind of people would be more likely to buy a certain kind of product, right? Given that they like to buy breakfast cereals, for example, right? So you'd assume that the ones who buy breakfast cereals are more health conscious in that aspect. So what you're trying to do is sort of like map consumer behavior. This is essentially customer segmentation or market segmentation. You're trying to understand what kind of behaviors are similar between certain groups of people. So over here, people who are into breakfast cereals and those kind of things would be more likely health conscious, and so you'd likely, so it's more likely that you'd recommend them kinds of like food items like granola, protein shakes, protein bars, and those kind of things. And this insight, this is where the domain knowledge comes in. This is where the business insight of things comes in. And if you are completely new to this, it might be difficult at first because you do not have a grasp on the industry. So that matters, that really matters a lot. How much of the business do you know? And on the other part would be your technical skills, your your SQL skills, your Python and R skills. One neglected aspect of every data science job, I would say, is how you present your things. So presentation, that's your secret soft skill. And you'd say, okay, so what do I need to learn about this? It's not about what you can learn, it's about what kind, how do you want to present your information. So presenting can come in front of the number of people that you interact with. So you can have technical people. um,
Yeah, no issues. You could have written it in the shorthand also.
yeah, so it's a technical presentation, or it can be business executives, right? So if you had a presentation, dealing with numerical approximations, algorithms, and comparing algorithms to do a certain kind of task, so those kind of information, the tech guys would be more, more than comfortable with, because they know, understand what you're talking about. They are speaking, you're speaking in their language, right?
Yeah,
So
they
you're
can
speaking,
relate to. Yeah,
it's more about relating. It's about how do you connect with the kind of people. So the
exactly.
tech guys, they are more mathematically inclined, they are more technically inclined, that's why they are the tech guys, right? So you'd speak in terms of the you use the vocabulary that you would most likely easily like communicate your ideas to them. But when you're talking about business executives, people who need to take a decision, you don't want to you don't want to, overload them with information. You want to give them actionable insights, right? So let's say you're talking about trends in data. Let's say you're talking about increase and decrease in trends. So in form of form of technical PPT, so a technical presentation, so you'd be saying things like slope. You'd be taking things like slope. You're talking about um, data wherein this period of information has a different slope, and this period of information has a different another slope, right? This would be kind of information where let's say this months where different behavior,
The one I
right?
think you made a bit mistake with theta two.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So that will be theta 2, right? So you're talking about some kind of different segmentation of behavior of people with change with some kind of time, some kind of time domain. So these are the kind of technical information you might say to a tech sort of people. But to a business executive, do you really think they want to know about these things? They just want to know if the
How much
trend
profit are they gonna make?
is increasing or not. That's what matters, right? So if they see that choosing did taking up a specific decision leads them to growth over the long time, that's what matters to them, right? Not about the nitty gritty of implementations, not about those details. So the way you present to those guys matters. So your presentation skills should be at par, should be better than what you normally expect going into a job like that. So these are the three fields that I would ask you to really focus on. And these are not much. You could read a couple of books, like one or two books, or a few series, like even that's why you're building the series for you guys. If you just go through our videos, and look up a couple of other books and stuff like that, you'd be well prepared enough, to be qualified to apply to a job or not. How you get the job, that depends on you and your interviewing skills. That's another video in another
Yeah,
time.
actually. So Devan, any more points would you like to mention to our viewers? Like, are there anything more which you would like to add?
Uh, in data science, or even in machine learning, the ceiling, the qualification ceiling seems to be is very high. It doesn't seem it is very high. The amount of things you need to learn, it seems overwhelming at first, and it does for every one of us, even for me. And I'm still learning every day. So what I would really ask you is, are you the kind of person who can be a data scientist in the future, who can be a data analyst in the future? You need to ask yourself that. You need to ask yourself, are you good at numbers? Or even if you're not good, are you good with understanding and deriving insights from data, from understanding how the business works, what kind of numbers make sense in a specific part of a business, and how you can extract information that can allow business executives to take decisions that will allow the business to grow, right? That chain of thought. Let me draw down the chain of thought for you. So you want to look at data, You wanna find insights. You wanna relate to executives who can then take a decision. This is your role as a data professional. If you can do this, it doesn't matter if you know coding or not. It doesn't matter what you are good at. If you can do this, you are a data professional. You are a data analyst. You are a data scientist, and more. So if you're the kind of guy that can do this, you can look at data day in day out, look at data, try to find out what makes sense to to better a product, to increase its life cycle, to increase revenues, and achieve the specific business target, right? That's the kind of role for you. So you should be a data analyst. So if you're not comfortable at making errors, if you're not comfortable at being wrong, if you're not comfortable at working with numbers, then I really can't say much about you. It's hard. It's hard. So I would say that there's a different kind of mentality that goes into doing this kind of doing this kind of jobs. So you should really first evaluate yourself, try to understand what uh, you believe in, what you can understand, what you think you can do. Trying to understand whether you're good at working, beyond what you know at all points of time, and learning constantly on the job. If you can do that, then you have promise. You have promise. I can promise you.
So, Debayan, if you would allow me, let me summarize what we have learned today.
Sure.
Yeah. So, guys, just give me a second. So, guys, so in today's video, what are the takeaways? Number one, what does the job entail? Number two, what are the skills you require? So here we have seen that SQL, then Python or R. This is very important, and in this part what it entails, we learnt about data analyst, then data engineer, and finally data scientist. And another thing we learned is machine learning engineer, ML engineer. So, yeah. Now, then the third part is what, or let me tell you it like this, how beginners should organize. So here we learned we have three parts actually. So number one is business knowledge. Number two, tech skills. So that include two parts which are there. So that's SQL and Python or R. And number three, we learned about the soft skill of presentation. So we will be covering each and every part of it. Am I right, Debayan?
Yes. In the future videos, we will cover in each and every part of it in detail and try to sort of connect all of them together so that you guys can make sense out of it.
Yeah, and those are our plans. So, guys, thanks for staying with us for this long. That was all for the day. This video, and from next week onwards, you guys will be having proper videos on mathematics. Debayan, if I'm right, linear algebra. We are starting from the next week, right?
Yeah, we're gonna start off slow. We're gonna start off with linear algebra. We're gonna talk about vectors and vector spaces and how it relates to data science and machine learning.
Yeah. So that's all. Thank you for staying with us. I am your host Subhra, and
This is Debayan.
so thank you. Goodbye. Good night. See you in the next week's video. And guys, we have our plans in the 3 videos. So today is one video. The next video will be tomorrow. So guys, stay tuned for that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe and hit the bell notification icon beside it so that you get notified each and every time we post a new video. And share it with all of your friends who are interested in the field and who want to earn more than average earnings. So data science is the sexiest job of 21st century, and you guys should take this job and take this opportunity. So guys, that's all for the day. Bye. See you in the next time.